Hi, I am Haley Kershner with Anchor, and this is another episode of Off the Clock. And today I have Barrett Young with us. And Barrett, why don't you start by introducing yourself?
Yeah, sure. I'm a partner in a small firm under 15 people in the Maryland, uh, just south of DC area. I've been in the profession for about 20 years. We do mostly tax and accounting, and we focus on succession planning for multi-generational businesses at our firm, GWCPA. And I'm one of two partners in the firm.
And Barrett, before we get more into your story, I'm going to start with a few rapid fire questions just to get to know you a little bit better.
Sure.
Coffee or tea? As you hold up your coffee.
Yep. Uh, coffee with 3 or 4 pumps of French vanilla creamer is my preference.
Ooh, I love a good French vanilla creamer. Mountains or beach?
Mountains for sure.
Morning person or night owl?
I've switched back and forth throughout my life, but right now I'd say early morning, just because my kids make fun of me, but I can't even stay awake past 9 o'clock on the couch. So
What
by
time do you,
default,
what time do you typically wake up?
the alarms start going off at about 5:30, and then some point, third or fourth alarm, I'll actually get up. But I like to wake up with the sun, and so I
Yeah.
like after daylight savings time, earlier mornings. I love sunshine in the morning. I hate
Mhm.
waking up in the darkness. So, but yeah,
I
I'd still say morning person. House
cats
is quieter in the morning. It's all to myself. Coffee, a book, run, gym, whatever the case might be. I like
Yeah,
mornings better.
I do too. I like the quietness of the morning. Cats or dogs?
Oh boy, this is going to alienate people. I'm a cat person, and it took me probably 30 years of my life to get to that point. So I grew up with both. Never had indoor cats, always had indoor dogs. Always would have called myself a dog person, but we had 2 cats for the first 17, 18 years of my marriage that were both indoor cats, and I absolutely love cats. They don't need you, but they'll be happy to sit on your lap if it's available. But it's not like they are so needy like dogs are.
I
you
also
you
have
stay over there, I'll stay over here. We'll just live next to each other and be totally fine with it. So
I also have two cats. I grew up with both, and they're just so easy to take care of compared to a dog. You have to worry about going home and letting it out. You're worried about traveling with cats. It's like, okay, they're super
yep.
independent.
So many times we could just leave for like 3 or 4 days and just like overfill the cat bowl and leave the toilet seat up, and the cats would be fine. Not so with dogs. So.
No, complete opposite. If you could teleport anywhere right now, where would you go?
Hmm. Oh man, anywhere. Um, Space, is that an option?
Yeah, wherever you want.
I would absolutely love to go to space someday. I've joked that it's like my goal or my lifelong ambition would be to get on a one-way trip to Mars and never come home. So, but yeah, if I could teleport somewhere, I would love to go to space. Big Star Wars fan, and just everything about the exploration, the unknown, all that out
Mhm.
there is totally like not scientific, but fanciful, and oh, it'd be so cool. But I realize it's a lot harder than living on Earth. So.
Definitely. All right, Barrett, let's start from the beginning. What led you to become tax partner? And I just found out marketing partner. I knew
Mhm.
you were involved in marketing. I didn't realize you were a partner as well at GWCPA.
Sure. So I joined this firm 8 years ago. I had my own company for about 6 years before then. I went out in 2012, did the remote CFO, virtual bookkeeper, zero only firm for about 5 or 6 years on my own, and then missed company culture, missed being part of a team, reached out to a peer of mine, a mentor of mine, and ended up joining her firm in 2017. Tax partner was kind of a progression that just happened really this past year of we are changing the model of our firm away from the traditional silos where every partner has their own clients and their own staff that they work with on those clients to we have one client list for the firm, and I took over as tax partner, and my partner Samantha took over as the accounting partner, the financial statement attest partner. Um, and so that's the very short end of it. We needed a tax partner, and I prefer tax. I'm not an auditor by trade. She was. So I prefer tax, and that's what led me to that position.
Do you enjoy the tax or marketing side of accounting then?
Marketing.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. I mean, I want to find, now that I've defined this role and we've standardized it, all of our entity tax returns are going through a tax partner. It is on my short list to find possibly a CPA that wants to become a partner here, but definitely to find a tax manager that can take over that role of reviewing every tax return. My ultimate goal, I would love to just be marketing partner for the
Mhm.
firm and do that 100% of the time.
What are some of the marketing initiatives that you have successfully done this year
Oh
or
man.
or in the past?
Yeah. So 2 years ago, well, I guess my partner Samantha became managing partner 2.5 years ago, almost at this point. And part of the one firm, one client list was also streamlining our brand. Who do we work with? We're not just 4 or 5 different CPAs working with our own client list anymore. What does GW stand for? And we used to have a whole long list of long names that GW it has shortened and abbreviated. But what's our brand? What's our voice? What's our common message? Who do we want to work with? And it's multi-generational businesses and succession planning. Our firm's been around for 80 years, and we have a lot of clients that have been with us for 20, 40, 60 years in some cases. And so transitioning those businesses through the different generations has really been, that was like I'd been pushing on Sam since I started here in 2017. If I'm going to market this company, even early days, just like streamlining our Yelp and Google review pages and Facebook, I need to know who we're talking to. We can't just be doing generalized tax knowledge. Nobody's going to pay attention to that online. So that was like the big thing that unlocked for us is when we realized this is our specialty, this is our target market. And so from there, launched a YouTube channel 2 years ago, specifically around the value of your company, the transition, succession planning, all the generational issues that come in there. Summer 2024, I launched a podcast interviewing people who bought their company from somebody else. At the time, I felt like there were a lot of podcasts focused on founders, focused on entrepreneurs in the traditional sense of I started this company, but there was not a lot of focus on I took over this company from mom and dad or from my boss. I stepped from employee into ownership. So that's what I launched in that podcast. Just recently launched a scorecard for somebody who's an employee wondering if they're going to be a good owner someday. And so they can take a 30-question quiz and get ranked on 5 different pillars of ownership, that ownership mindset, so they can see, am I ready to start that conversation or transition into an ownership position within this company? And I'm just always coming up with different ideas, mostly from watching other people, watching other industries, what they're doing to attract people, and then how can we apply that to professional services and accounting specifically.
What led you to becoming interested in marketing? Were you always involved in tax, and was it just one day you're like, I want to make our brand stand out and figure out our ICP? And was it
Yeah.
just kind of organic?
It was by necessity. So for the first 5 or 6 years of my career, very traditional, I did not do anything client facing. It was just like you do the work and the clients will just come to you. And you're in our firm. It's not your job to market. It's not your job to bring in clients. Your job's to do the work. The year I became a CPA, rather than getting a congratulations or a bonus, I mean, I did get a meager congratulations from my first employer. They dropped a stack of business cards with CPA at the end of my name on my desk and said, you're a CPA now, time to go out and start finding your own business. I had left them and was out on my own within 2 years of becoming a CPA. And it was really by necessity. I had to learn how to market. That's not something you're ever forced to do in most firms unless you're in an ownership or rainmaker position. But the books that I was reading, I went from business development, personal development books like Dan Pink to Seth Godin. Seth Godin and Gary Vaynerchuk were like 2 early influences for me at the time. And it was just, again, by necessity. April 17th, 2012, the day after tax season, I went out on my own with no clients, no revenue, and a small, retirement account to fund my family from day one. And it was like scrambling to figure out marketing, to figure out online marketing, in-person marketing, like the lunch and learn type groups that every local community has, the Chamber of Commerce kind of stuff. How does that all work, and how do you get targeted clients from that? And that's just been on my mind constantly for like the past 13 years from that day.
I'm curious to hear your opinion on this because I went to a conference in Nashville. It was called the Right Now Conference.
Hmm.
And Gary Vee he was a keynote speaker there, and he had a room full of probably about 300 accountants. And he asked everybody to raise their hand if they had a presence on social media. And probably about 50% of people raised their hands, maybe even a little less. I think a lot of accountants and firm owners do struggle with marketing. Where would you recommend people start if you could just give maybe one starting point for people?
Wow. One
Would you
starting
say,
point.
yeah, would you say social media or would you say something else?
So I always start with why. Why are you looking to do marketing? Why are you on social media? And I will admit, Gary Vaynerchuk is exhausting, and I do not recommend starting with Gary Vaynerchuk because he's going to have you creating 12 to 13 pieces of content every day for the rest of your life, and not hoping, it will pay off eventually, but that's exhausting. So no, I think you really need to start with why are you marketing in the first place? And I don't think accountants are good at this because we like to be generalists. We like to be helpful. We want to help everybody that's got a problem. And so when we go out, we're like, I can help you. Do you have a problem? Yes, I do. What's that problem look like? And they describe their problem. And it's like, well, I guess I'm helping that type of client now. And so we kind of let our firm develop towards whatever the clients bring us as these are the problems they have. And it's like, oh, well, now my clients are aging. And so I better learn how to do trusts and estates, or, my clients are trying to sell their business. And so I'm going to move towards that. Or my clients are all founders. So I'm going to move towards angel investors or something like that, rather than us determining who our client is, who we want to work with. I think niching or niching. I prefer, it's hard for us to do because we don't want to say no to any revenue, but I think that's where you have to start, because that's going to determine, should you be on Instagram? Should you be on LinkedIn? Should you be on Facebook? Should you be at the Chamber of Commerce mixers? Should you be doing postcards? What does that look like? And it's all going to come down to, you have to make a decision. You have to be purposeful. Because if you're the only CPA firm in a 25-mile radius, or one of three in a 25-mile radius, you don't have to be as picky. But if you're trying to expand beyond that generalist mindset, you have to say, this is who I'm talking to online, and I'm not going to produce content that doesn't talk to that audience. Otherwise, you'll just disappear. We're all updating everybody with the 2026 IRS mileage rates, and people are just not going to care about that.
Yeah, and I don't think everyone needs to necessarily follow what every single other person is doing, but I agree. Starting with why is super important on getting clarity about where you want to go and where you're headed.
Because I think some of the traditional methods are going to pay off, but you need to be able to walk into an in-person room or host a booth at a client convention or something like that and have a very specific message for why you're there. If you're walking into the chamber and there's 35 people there and you're just saying, well, I do taxes for everybody that needs taxes. Do you need somebody? And they're like, well, I already have a tax preparer. It's like, well, then you're not going to get anybody in that audience. But if you can, even doing traditional old school face-to-face methods like that, you go in and you have a very clear message of who you're working with, then they can say, oh, well, I just had somebody that had to buy out their partner. That's exactly the kind of thing that I can think, your mind pops into my head when I see that come through. So
when you think back to the early days of your career, what was something that you didn't see coming that challenged you or maybe changed your way of thinking?
I spent probably the first 5 years of my career trying to get out of accounting.
Really?
And I didn't. So I enlisted in the Marines after high school, did 4 years in the Marines. My dad was an accountant. He was an internal controller for construction companies, just local small businesses. My mom was actually an auditor for the state of California before she came home and raised me and my brother. So both my parents were accountants. I always joked I went in the Marine Corps because it was the furthest thing away from being an accountant that I could think of. But I was in the Marines, met my future wife, didn't want to stay in the Marines, and faced facts. I'm good at math. I love being in Excel. So I got into accounting. It was not something I would have said was my passion. And I spent my 20s like, you got to find your passion. If you find that thing that you absolutely love, you never work another day in your life. That whole kind of mythology around, if you just find the thing that makes you excited, everything becomes so much easier. And accounting wasn't that for me for the first 5 years. And so I was actually doing a construction certificate. I thought about being a woodworker. At one time, I was delivering pizzas at Domino's, and like my mind ran away with me as a visionary. It's like I could become assistant manager of this Domino's location. And it was just like all over the place. I was actually in seminary to get out of this profession and become a pastor. When I passed the CPA exam, it was my mom that pushed me. She's like, that's fine if you want to leave the profession, but finish the CPA exam at this point. You'll always have that to fall back on. So I fought against the profession for those first 5 or 6 years. It wasn't until I was a CPA and I got out from behind the bookkeeping and the tax returns and actually was having one-on-one conversations with clients where the profession came alive for me. And so obviously I didn't finish seminary, didn't go that route, but once I got away from that and started talking with business owners and realized what accounting actually empowers us to do and the conversations that we have around it, that's where it was like, okay, this is what I want to do with the rest of my life. And that was 13 years ago. And it's been progressively getting stronger and stronger along the way, especially now that I have a team and have to kind of inspire them or give them reasons to fall in love with this profession. But that was, I totally understand somebody who's like, I went to accounting because it was an easy bachelor's degree and I don't even know if I like this anymore. There's so much further that you can go in accounting if you just, I'll make a book recommendation here. Cal Newport's book, So Good They Can't Ignore You, is one of my absolute favorite reads. I'd have every high school student read that if I knew they would actually take it to heart. But push through the day-to-day, the preparation stuff that you're tasked with now to what is actually going to make you valuable to business owners, valuable to employers. And then you're going to be able to choose which clients you do want to work with, which ones you don't want to work with, how much you want to bill for your services, how much you want to get paid, and which clients inspire you, which ones don't, and start working with those that get you excited. It's still going to be work. You're still going to have days where you don't want to show up. I think passion is a better understood as the thing that you do, even when it does hurt, even when it does get dry, even when it doesn't excite you every single day. It's still worth doing. But push through that. There's something in accounting that you're going to find that unlocks that thing for you. And for me, it was face-to-face with business owners.
Yeah, it sounds like you really enjoyed the relationship building that accounting has brought you. Would you say that's kind of what pushed you to further into your practice of being a CPA?
Yeah, it was the relationship building. I am an introvert, so don't get me wrong. It's not like I love walking into a room of strangers and meeting every single one of them, but I do love walking into a room of strangers and meeting one or two of them and knowing that what I know is actually valuable to them and actually helps them. And that's where I kind of unlocked it. It's not about debits and credits. It's not about making sure the tax return is right. It's about changing or interpreting that mystery for them in a way that actually improves their life, improves their business decisions. And that's a relationship thing, like you said.
Yeah.
CPAs have this ability to be the trusted advisors for their client. We have trust that their doctors, their attorneys, and their financial advisors don't necessarily have from day one. And it's a responsibility for us not to abuse that trust either. But this is a people business, and you can find ways to do tech forward face-to-face connections with people, like video podcasts, for example, to still kind of bring some of those elements that are in our profession that we forget when we're bogged down with the volume of tax returns that we have to do.
And Barrett, I don't think I've ever heard anybody say that they love being in Excel. I think that's the first time I've ever heard that.
Stick around. I got a whole handful of us.
Oh, that's funny. What are you most proud of right now, business-wise or personally?
Oh man. I've got two amazing teenagers just on the personal side. So my daughter will be 18 and my son will be 16 in March. I'm really proud of the young adults that they're becoming. I'm excited and nervous about the future that lays ahead of them. So I've been married for 20 years, so I'd rank all three of those things on the personal side. On the business side, I just love how engaged our team can get into the work that we're doing. And the more that we talk about this as our target client and the more that they see we're not just saying those words, we're actually making decisions to release clients that don't fit that model and try to target and bring in clients through marketing methods that do fit that model. I hope it enables them to see that we're not just trying to plow through a couple hundred tax returns this year. We are trying to reduce the number of hours, the number of clients that we work with at a higher value so that we can have deeper conversations with them. And so that's why I came back to public accounting. I came back to a traditional firm from working for myself for 6 years because I wanted to have people that are like, I'm in this profession because Barrett was my boss and I absolutely loved working at that company. And he made me fall in love. He helped me fall in love with accounting and see how it actually matters for our clients. So I think on the personal side, that's where my biggest uh, thing that I'm proud of would be.
And Barrett, before we wrap up, I like to end each chat by passing along a little piece of advice from one guest to the next.
Yep.
And the previous guest that I had on was Sabrina Burke, and her advice was invest in cybersecurity education.
Mm.
She wants to stress how important that is for businesses and companies because she doesn't think people maybe take it serious enough. So that was her piece of advice. What would you like to leave for the next guest?
Whether or not you're a business owner, whether or not you ever start your own company or take over the company of somebody else, from the staff accountant to the manager to the partner, see your career as an experiment. See your career as a laboratory. We aren't doing brain surgery here. There's nobody's life is on the line. What we do matters. What we do is important. But mistakes and the amount of trust that we build up with our clients, with the right clients, your clients will trust you to resolve those mistakes and fix them. And so get away from this idea that if I fail, I'm a failure. If I fail, what we are doing is absolute trash and should never be, we should never pursue that again. We should only move towards the safe and the expected and the traditional. I think that that's helped me most in my career. And it came from starting a company from scratch 13 years ago where I tried something and it didn't work. And it's like, well, I have to try something else and shift it and see what works along the way. You throw out a proposal and it gets shot down. It's like, well, I'm never going to not do another proposal again. I just need to, was it the services? Was it the price? Was it some combination? What do I need to tweak on the next one to find that proper mix? You think of training for like an athlete or something like that, or building muscle. Building muscle only comes through pain. You have to stress the muscle in order for it to grow, in order for it to be able to respond to that, whether it's running or lifting or whatever the case might be. You have to push yourself past your comfort zone in order for you to get a reaction, a response from that. And we have to look at our careers the same way. If you only do everything conservatively, if you only do everything that doesn't get you to stand up or to get in trouble or anything like that, you're not going to grow. You're not going to become so good that they can't ignore you. The people who are so good that they can't ignore you, which means people come find you and pay you a lot of money because you're the only one that can do this one thing. The people who get to that point are the ones that are trying things that other people are afraid to do. And that only comes from getting comfortable with the risk of failure and saying, I learned something. I'm not a failure because that failed. I'm now a better person into the next one, taking that lesson with me.
Barrett, where can people find you?
So I'm on YouTube at GWCPA's. The Art of Succession podcast is my podcast. GWCPAS.com is our website. That's where all my marketing goes through the website and our YouTube channel. And then on LinkedIn, obviously, as well.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for being on. I really appreciate your time today.
Thank you, Haley. It's been a pleasure.